What if I told you that reaching $50,000 in savings doesn't just change your financial situation, it actually changes the way your brain operates? Seriously, crossing this line creates a mental shift so powerful that it can permanently alter how you think about money, risk, and opportunity. Most people treat $50,000 like it's just another step towards some bigger financial goal. But that misses the bigger picture, because this number quietly marks a turning point in your relationship with money, and the ripple effects can follow you for the rest of your life. The strange part? Most people don't realize the transformation is happening while it's happening. I'm Vanessa, and I spend way too much time nerding out about the psychology behind money, specifically why some people steadily build wealth while others stay stuck, feeling like they're always one step behind. If you're curious about what really happens when you cross major financial milestones, make sure you're subscribed. And if this video ends up changing the way you think about your savings goals, tap the like button too. All right, let's talk about what actually changes when your savings hit $50,000. Because most people assume it simply means you've got more cash sitting in your account. But that explanation misses the real story. That's like saying graduating college is just another day of school. Technically true, but the entire experience is different. Moving from a few $1,000s in savings to $50,000 isn't a smooth step upward. It's more like the difference between riding a bike with training wheels and suddenly driving on the highway. Everything about how you operate changes. The first major shift shows up in something psychologists call your locus of control. Before building real savings, money tends to control your behavior. You check your account before buying basic necessities. You mentally calculate how long your balance needs to last. You hesitate before opening a bill because you're not sure what number you'll see. But once your savings approach $50,000, the dynamic flips. Instead of money dictating your choices, you start directing your money. And this isn't just motivational talk. There's real research behind it. People with strong financial cushions consistently report lower levels of stress related to money. They sleep better, they worry less. Even biological stress signals in the body drop significantly. It's almost like your nervous system finally realizes it doesn't need to stay on high alert anymore. That constant background worry about finances, the one you didn't even realize was always running, suddenly gets quieter. But here's where things get really interesting. The psychological power of $50,000 isn't really about the exact number. It's about crossing what researchers call the security threshold. That's the moment when your brain stops viewing money purely as survival fuel and starts seeing it as a tool. Think about it like this. If someone has $300 in savings and loses their job, that's a crisis. If they have $3,000, they might have a little breathing room. But when someone has $50,000 saved, losing a job becomes stressful, but it's no longer an immediate disaster. Your brain recognizes that difference instantly. And once it does, your decision-making starts coming from stability instead of fear. Even if $50,000 doesn't feel like a massive amount compared to what millionaires have, this shift triggers what I like to call the momentum effect. When financial stress fades into the background, your thinking improves in almost every area of life. You negotiate salaries more confidently because you're not desperate. You explore new opportunities because you have a safety cushion. You sleep better, which helps you think more clearly. Clear thinking leads to but what if you have a life of one person being raised in something, make every progress to explain? And that cycle often begins accelerating around this milestone. But there's something nobody really warns you about. Reaching $50,000 can actually become a trap if you're not careful. I know that sounds strange, but hear me out. Financial planners see this pattern constantly. Someone hits a big savings milestone and suddenly relaxes their habits. They start spending more because they feel wealthy. They stop tracking their finances because they think they've made it. They upgrade their lifestyle faster than their income grows. I call this the $50,000 illusion. And ironically, it can wipe out years of disciplined progress. Your brain, which spent years operating in scarcity mode, suddenly sees a large balance and interprets it as permission to loosen the rules. The same psychological shift that can accelerate wealth can also derail it if you're not aware of what's happening. But here's what's fascinating. People who continue building wealth after this point almost always share one mindset. They understand that $50,000 isn't the destination. It's the starting line. Up until now, you've mostly been playing financial defense. You were protecting yourself from emergencies, avoiding debt, building stability. But once that foundation exists, the game changes. Now you can start playing offense. This is where your relationship with investing transforms. Before reaching this level of savings, investing often feels scary. Every dollar feels too important to risk. But once your emergency cushion is solid, you can tolerate the ups and downs that come with growing wealth. Market fluctuations stop looking like disasters. They start looking like opportunities. And the math begins to feel different too. Imagine earning 6% annually. If you invest $3,000, that's about $1,080 in a year. Nice, but not exactly life-changing. But if you invest $50,000, that same return produces around $3,000 in a year. Suddenly, compound growth stops feeling like a theory from a finance book. You can actually see it working. But here's the twist most people overlook. The real significance of the $50,000 milestone isn't the money itself. It's the person you had to become in order to save it. Think about what it takes to build that amount. For most people, it represents years of consistency, turning down purchases, automating savings, sticking with the plan during unexpected expenses and economic uncertainty. That process slowly reshapes your habits. The person who eventually reaches $50,000 is very different from the person who started with nothing. You learn to distinguish wants from needs almost automatically. Watching your net worth increase becomes more satisfying than buying new things. Your brain begins rewarding long-term progress instead of short-term spending. And that identity shift spills over into other areas of life. People with strong savings tend to approach their careers differently. They negotiate more confidently. They pursue better opportunities. Some even start businesses. Why? Because they finally have options. Psychologists call this agency. When you have financial breathing room, you're not trapped by circumstances anymore. You can leave a toxic job. You can explore new paths. You can pursue growth instead of just survival. And that quiet confidence changes how you carry yourself. Another fascinating shift happens in how you try to improve your finances. Before building significant savings, most people focus almost entirely on reducing expenses. Cut subscriptions, cook at home, avoid unnecessary spending. Those strategies help, but they eventually reach a ceiling. Once people feel financially secure, their attention often shifts toward increasing income instead. And that change is massive. There's only so much you can shrink your budget, but your earning potential has far fewer limits. So people start looking for ways to expand their opportunities, learning new skills, negotiating raises, launching side projects, investing in education. The goal stops being living smaller. The goal becomes growing bigger. And once that mindset clicks, new possibilities start appearing everywhere. The freelance project you once ignored suddenly feels doable. That training program suddenly looks like an investment instead of a burden. Another unexpected benefit that appears around this milestone is something I like to call strategic patience. When you're constantly worried about money, every decision feels urgent. You need quick results. But once you have a solid financial cushion, time becomes your ally. You can make choices that might take months or years to pay off. You can invest in skills, build networks, take career steps that take longer to mature. Instead of constantly reacting to financial emergencies, you finally get to plan ahead. And that shift alone can completely change your life. But here's something that surprised me when I first started studying wealth psychology. Saving substantial money can sometimes create a strange feeling of guilt. You begin noticing how many people around you are struggling financially, and suddenly you feel awkward about having stability while others don't. Some people respond by downplaying their financial progress. Others start making poor decisions. lending money they never get back, or constantly covering group expenses. But the truth is this: building financial stability doesn't hurt anyone. In fact, it does the opposite. When you're financially secure, you're not relying on others to rescue you. You're not adding pressure to friends or family during emergencies. You become someone who can support others instead of needing support. And that's a powerful position to be in. Here's another fascinating shift researchers have discovered. Building strong savings actually changes how you think about time. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, your brain focuses almost entirely on immediate needs. Psychologists call this present bias. But having meaningful savings creates what researchers describe as time flexibility. Suddenly you can think years ahead, instead of weeks ahead. You can make decisions based on long-term outcomes rather than immediate survival. And that shift affects everything: your health decisions, your career plans, your relationships. You start thinking in decades instead of days. And once your mindset stretches that far into the future, your entire approach to life changes. So in the end, $50,000 isn't just a financial milestone. It's a psychological turning point. It marks the moment when money stops being a constant source of fear and starts becoming a tool you can actually use. Your thinking shifts. Your confidence grows. Your opportunities expand. And most importantly, you realize that building wealth isn't just about the balance in your account. It's about the person you become along the way.